This event happened in Leeds, England. It was around 1 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon in July 2010. I had been given the day off work to prepare myself on taking over the full role of my promotion that I had been given the week previous. I was at home lying on the couch playing Doodle Jump on my iPhone, or some such game, and my dad was on his chair reading a paper, us both just generally dossing about. The phone began to ring. My father was reading his paper and showed no intention of answering it, so I popped up and walked over to answer. There was a deathly silence at first, then a small click, which immediately made me think, bloody cold callers, what are they trying to sell me now? Hello, I said. It took another second or so, but the reply came.
Hello, darling.
The voice was familiar, yet unusual.
I heard about your promotion. Well done. I was always proud of you. I knew you'd do well for yourself.
The voice initially reminded me of my mother, who we no longer lived with, but it seemed unusual as I had told her about my promotion the week previous. Then I noticed the slight Irish twang to the voice. Grandma? I said, not quite believing what I was saying or hearing, as my grandma had been dead for 3 years by this point. This seemed to pique my dad's interest. He raised his gaze from the newspaper to me.
Yes, my little poppet.
I was at a loss for words. It was definitely my grandmother's voice, and was even using her pet name for me.
I missed you, you know, poppet.
I've missed you too, Grandma. How are you?
Oh, not bad. You know me, always keeping busy. I'd go mad if I didn't.
I was a little bit stunned. I looked over at my father, who had a concerned look on his face, so I lowered the phone slightly and told him that it was Grandma calling to see how we're doing. She's dead, he said. My grandmother chuckled and said,
Tell your dad that we still like to keep in contact.
Unreal. The conversation with Grandma carried on another 30 seconds or so, as she asked how other members of the family are doing. Then she exclaimed,
Oh, I almost forgot. Do you know, I'd forget my hat if it wasn't screwed on. I wanted to tell you about a film I just saw. It's called See You Daddy, Miss You Gladly. It's brilliant. Oh, you'll have to give it a watch.
This is weird, I thought, but I assured her I'd look into it. Then the conversation started to turn a little bizarre. She then said she missed the sound of my voice and wanted to hear my voice some more before she had to go, and declared the best way would be to name all the movies that I could think of starting at A all the way down to Z. This strikes me as too peculiar. My grandmother wasn't into movies anyway. Why though, I asked. I just don't see the point of this.
Come on, it's been a long time. I just want to hear you talk some more, love.
I glanced over at my dad, who had completely put down the newspaper and was just staring intently at me. This broke my concentration a bit and my suspicion rose. Right, who is this? I demanded. Now sure, it was nothing more than a very distasteful prank call.
It's your grandma.
The voice bellowed back less convincingly this time and started to crack and become deep, to the point the voice sounded inhuman. You know, slightly mechanical. Now I was convinced this wasn't my grandmother. I've had enough of you now, and I'm bored. You're not my grandmother, and I've got a whole load of nothing I'd rather be doing than standing here talking to you, I said. The voice then began laughing, almost hysterically, then said,
Well, it's not over.
Good luck with that, I replied before ending the call. Do you believe that? I said to my dad. This is where the story takes another turn. My dad then told me his version of events. Apparently, the phone hadn't rung at all. My dad said he just saw me walk over to the phone and pick it up, and he assumed I was going to call somebody. Then naturally, he started to become annoyed and worried when I claimed to be talking to my deceased grandmother, thinking I was going a bit far just to wind him up. Protesting my innocence, I went over to the phone and dialed 1471 to find out who the last caller was. The robotic voice informed me,
Your last call today at 8:14 a.m. by telephone number.
What? I exclaimed. That was my auntie, but why hadn't it mentioned the call that happened not 5 minutes ago? Afterthought on this event. I'm convinced it was something impersonating my grandmother. How it got her voice, I'm not sure. a phone call to her while she was still alive, or maybe it's just easier to impersonate the dead. I also find it funny that its sole intent was obviously for me, and it was attempting to master my voice and mannerisms so it could impersonate me for whatever reason. Or maybe it was a doppelganger, perhaps. Or perhaps it was just a prank call. Or maybe I just went insane for a short period of time. The weird thing about it was I never really sensed any evil or malice or any intention to harm me, and I certainly didn't fear it in the slightest.